we're going to get into this BIGGA stat that, Dave Rennie pretty much created back in 2012. And they're going to need to fit that mold.
BIGGA, back in game, go again. And the fitness required to play that way. You've got less than 3 seconds to get off the ground. Otherwise, you've failed at BIGGA. And you've got to hit BIGGA 85% of the time. So it is about getting up, Brynner, about going again. It is about effort areas.
And there's something that we love on this podcast, right? With all the kind of effort areas of what is required of a rugby player. But yeah, you are right. And I think Jip has got some really good stats around who they would be, I guess, and what they'd be looking for. But I think if you do look at those BIGGA stats, a perfect example where I had my time over in at the Blue Reds was Quagga Smith. And the reason of like why he was selected because of what he did in his effort areas. And I think even though he was an impact player, Rusty had a really big emphasis on all the things that he did, and he was at the top of the level when it came to all those things. So yeah, it's definitely a thing that's used over here in Japan. I think it gets put up in reviews around how much work you are doing off the ball, even if you are making a tackle, how quick you can get up and be able to get repeated effort. So yeah, if that is going to be a theme that that Dave does use, it'll be very interesting for players because there's a lot of players that do that. And if some players are lacking in and around that through selection, yeah, there might be some changes.
It's the old adage as well, because everyone does the BIGGA now. There's the one thing of, I suppose, a stats leaderboard in teams. It's like the stat you run to go see.
Yeah.
Where am I at? Where am I at? How much pain am I going to have this week? Because if you don't make it, you've got to do a lot of extra fitness to try and build that capacity. Some guys will be, it's not a lung capacity thing, it's being held in and around the ruck, held down. So you actually start training that as an attacking cleaner. It's a bigger stat because you might be on the ground, but you're lying on someone and you get up first. And it might have been 2 or 3 seconds, but you're still, so there's some intricacies around how you do it, but I think, and if you're struggling, if you're one of those guys that gets cleaned out around the ruck by like a Brodie Retallick and you're up last, you'll see coaches lying on tackle bags and teaching guys, taking them into the dojo, wrestling to try and get yourself out of those situations to be able to be back in the game. So it's a really, there's many parts to it. It's not like make tackle, just get back up. Like that's your happy days. Like that's pretty easy as a professional athlete. You are fit enough to do that. So when you get caught or trapped, you watch guys like the aggression or the arms start sort of, because in your head you're like, I'm going to get dropped, like I've got to get up on these feet at pace. And then you watch the cleaners that look to hold guys down and keep them in there so that they've got that control and they're not in the defensive line. So it's an awesome stat because it's easy. You know if you've done it or you haven't. And yeah, it's one that the teams that do it well, if you've got everyone over 85%, I don't see how you lose games in rugby. You're just going to be first. Rugby's all about who sets first. So on attack, if you set first, you've got time on the ball to manipulate the defence from the pitches you see. If you set first in defence, you've got time on your feet to shut down time and space and bang guys over. And then obviously the breakdown is where it all happens. And if you're winning that against your opposition, it's smooth sailing. So it's really exciting, and I think it's a great step for fans to know that's important to Dave Rennie, because when watching these test matches, they'll be able to go, he's not getting his BIGGA done.
Yeah.
So I went through like each team, and what I did is like per 80 minutes, because some guys haven't played that many. So like I didn't want to do totals because it's sort of hard to work out. And this is my version of BIGGA. So it's not like the like Opta stats give us or Rugby Pass stats give us BIGGA stats. You sort of just got to go through and see how many back-to-back efforts there are and how many rucks are over 3 people. So you're entering and what that context looks like. And the beauty of the stats we get thanks to Rugby Pass is you can just tap on them and you can see the video. And so I'll give you, I think I've got a top 5 here. So Wallace Satiti is out and out number 1. Yeah. Like he is massive in terms of his back-to-back efforts both on attack and D, and I think that's what Razor. Who did he get picked over? I can't remember, and it was quite. Hoskins Satutu.
Yes.
And he was like, it's both sides of the ball, his back-to-back efforts are huge. So he's one. Duplessis Karifi, I mean, these will be no surprise to people. Duplessis Karifi's another one. Asafa Moore is probably the best. He's playing the best footy I think we've all seen. But man, he is fit. He is getting back in the game like no one else. Peter Lakai is another one. Christian Leo Willie from the Crusaders, and then Sam Darry from the Blues, and then Angus Tarvell. Big Gussie.
Big Gus.
He is a bigger specialist.
And it's a big body to get off the ground.
Yeah, man, he has got a big engine. And like, look at the scrummaging against the Chiefs. Like he's having a great season, you know, sort of down to the Highlanders, and now he's been, you know, a big rock and cornerstone to that type 5, which is exciting. So, and then the other one that hasn't played, but this is like his bread and butter, is Fabian Holland.
Yeah.
Like, my gosh, that man has got a big engine. And he goes and goes. And I suppose the best example of it under a Dave Rennie side is Brodie Retallick. So that's what he looks for. Like that he, you know, Brodie changed the locking role. You know, he was Player of the Year, World Player of the Year as a lock in 2014. He changed the dynamic and the expectation of locks, sort of like how Dane Coles did for hookers. And that, you know, it doesn't matter the jersey number you wear, there's a big expectation. And then another player that I think deserves an honour. I'm trying to pump up the front rowers here. Is Ethan de Groot, man? He's had a great season. He's gone undercover. You know, Tamati Williams' injury, but the last few weeks he's had, you know, amassed close to 20 tackles both games. He's had a high number of cleanouts. He's played to about the 70th minute. You know, that's a big job for a loose head at Super Rugby level these days, and he's getting his hands on the ball. So he's another one that has shown really strong. There's quite a few. Like I've left a lot out there, but it's no surprising, like out of the top 5, 3 of them are Hurricanes.
Do halfbacks have to get back in game, Brennan?
They never have contact, do they, Brennan?
Well, I feel the players that they do now watching rugby these days in New Zealand, Jipper. But no, I think just for us, we always kind of ask, because I think, like you said, if you're looking around the breakdown area, depending on kind of what team you are, but I think, you know, if you are making tackles, you are getting up pretty quickly because you know you've got to get to the next ruck. So when it does come to the big stats, you are moving quite quickly. So, but I guess, you know, for my time, probably didn't do a lot of contact. So when it came to those kind of areas, you know, didn't have to do a lot around getting up a lot. So, but with the halfbacks that they are playing at the moment, yeah, I can imagine they'd do a little bit more. But I think a couple of more names that I did want to mention, with Jipper did touch on, I think, you know, with the forwards, you obviously got like Segna, and I think, you know, Bosch is a big part of that kind of style. But I think for the backs, you know, Billy Proctor is massively in and around those effort areas. Like he's one guy on both sides of the ball, along with Quinta Pai, and with how he is playing those two. And there's no, you know, you can see why they've been so consistent. They played so well this year due to those stats. And I think, you know, Will Jordan and I think a Leroy Carter from the Chiefs working around off the ball consistently. So that'd be two names in terms of the backs that I think have done really well in that con area.
Another interruption, not great.
Sorry,
brother, but you've done well off your gut there, because Geordie, Billy, Leroy Carter and Quinta Pai are just sitting outside the top 10.
Yeah.
So naturally the biggest stat is probably you get more opportunity as a forward.
Yes.
Because you're always cleaning rucks and carrying. So it does feel like it's forward weighted, but they're actually the most important ones to get back in the game to allow the players out wide.
Yeah, but to be fair to Brenner, you know, no one wants a ball sitting at the back of the ruck for 2 seconds. You know, like, you know, if the other people have done their job, the halfback needs to be there. And being constantly in the game is a massive thing.
Oh, yeah. And the Ks they clock up, especially if you watch teams that play wide to wide, you watch a halfback's line. Like, they're just going from there to there. And then who's always there on the nice little support line? Yeah. You know, like they cover a lot of meters. They may not have to do the amount of contact unless you're Cam Roigard. But they certainly cover meters.
Yeah, so that's a key thing that Dave Rennie is looking for. Basically, you got to be in the game. You know, you can't carry 3 times, beat a couple of tackles, and look great for 5 minutes of the game if for the other 75 minutes you're not on your feet contributing, and that is going to be massive. That's not to say that he doesn't want X Factor players, because Dave Rennie teams love X Factor.
A lot of these players that will be selected are very good in and around those stats. Do you know what I mean? But I think it just heightens in terms of, like, you've got to be able to know that you've got to work off the ball. And if it's based around selection and being able to be picked in a team, and if that's a metric that they're going to use, then you know, as Jip has kind of said, if you're not hitting those areas in moments in games, you'll know within yourself, damn, like I've just clocked off there. Like I think there was a try, and this is just an example. I can't remember when it was in for the Highlanders, but there was an inside ball, and Ethan de Groot was just kind of on the far side of the ruck, just kind of stopped for a moment. Then it was too late to be able to get an inside ball, and they kind of got a line break off that. So that's just an example of, I know what I'm not just like using Ethan de Groot here, but that's an example. If you just clock off for a second, those things will be brought up in reviews. So I remember one game I think we played in Fiji. I think Kieran Reid was another example that he was a far side rock, and Sean Stevenson goes through the middle. And through that review, we talked around like what was our effort, what was your intent in this example, and it was an example of kind of what those metrics that Dave Rennie's using. So as a player, you do know that it's coming, but I think for those All Blacks that will be selected, they'll be very good in and around those areas anyway.
And I think that's where the go again comes, because it's not, originally it was just a big stat, so back in game, so get to your feet, but that's where the go again came, because like Bryn said around that far side rock, and I think a good example is Malachi Rampling, who was outstanding for the Blues last night. If you watch Naholo's try, Eddie draws Sam knockout. He gives that inside ball, and what you're supposed to do there when you're on the maul, when you're on those pillars of the maul, is if it goes that way, you've got to fill in to that gap. So everyone would look at Sam Knock and say, oh, why is he chased? Well, that's his role. And then someone's supposed to fill in there, and you should snot Kinney.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, just for a second, it was almost like popped up, saw him, reacted, rather than reacted, saw it. Do you know what I mean? Sure. And that's that go again.
Yeah.
So everyone, there was a massive focus on big. But what coaches clearly found, and the stats have shown, is, we're on our feet, but then we don't move for 5 minutes. You know, you spend all your energy, so you've got to have the capacity to go again.
So what does that training look like, Brenna? It's kind of down up stuff and then run, like, because you got to have the explosiveness off the ground to go again?
It's for different positions, but I think it's more so just an intent in your mindset. Like, you just know you just got to keep moving. So you've got to be able to train that, whether it's through the contact area, whether it's just moving your feet and running, whether it's your transition or whatever it may be. So you can obviously manufacture like the situations where you've got someone on the bag, you've got to move around. If you're trying to do a clean out, your coach is kind of holding you, taking you off, and you've got to use and be really fast those first 3 steps. So a kind of mindset that I've used in previous teams is that first 3 steps, having that mindset, whether that's running to drink bottles, whether that's running to drills, whether that's just playing in general through your huddles or whatever it may be, just to try and get your body to do that consistently, because it does take time. If you're not used to it, and that's not the part of your DNA to move fast and being able to have that first 3-step mindset, you've got to try manufacture and train it in training. So if you get that through, 120 odd trainings through the year, it becomes second nature for the moments that you really do need it in games. So that's how I'd kind of say that would be our mindset from teams that I've previously been in, that first 3-step mindset.
Yeah, a little bit different for forwards. We do train it quite a lot. So one of the key drills we'd do is, normally it would be like, okay, we've got 15 minutes here, and we're specifically training this, training our systems and our contact collision areas under fatigue. So you would do your down ups, sort of the what were they called, Malcolms? You start in the middle, you go out 10, you go back pedal 20, down up, go back to the down up, and you do, say 10 of those as fast as you can. Then you go to a live scrum. Boom, you're into live scrum, you go to a live line out, you're into a live maul situation, and then you go into a 3v3 drill, and you're ball carrying clean. And then basically on the whistle, it's like you go from one stage of that breakdown. So you've got to think, you've done your down ups, you've then gone into a scrum, you've then gone into a maul, and then they'll put you in the situation where the bigger stats are important in and around the breakdown. And there's 4 stations. And it's like the whistle goes, and then it's like, even if you're on the ground, someone gets up. If they beat you there, they can go straight away. So you don't have to wait. So if your team's dominating in and around the breakdown and holding players down, you get to just go. And it's just try after try, boom, whistle. And once you're behind, it's very embarrassing, because you don't really catch up, because they score a try, drill over, and it's then reviewed.
I think the best version of that as well, Jipper, was actually your day 4, or just before your captain's run day, the scenarios game that you would have, that you'd kind of get all your dress rehearsal of all your plays throughout the start of the week, both defensively and attack. And those sessions sometimes for me, because the contact isn't full on contact, but you try and replicate as close as you can to shoulder on, body on, or there might be a period of time within the 4 blocks that you get the opportunity to maybe go live. But like those sessions sometimes are way harder in the game because it was just like you score your try, you go through a lot of phases, you're on to the next one. You might need to run like 50, 60 meters down the field and you've got a time period to be able to try and get the ball and to then play again. So you kind of manufactured the game scenario, and that kind of big, or your speed of movement, your intent and trying to move fast was really heightened in those sessions. And sometimes I found at Jipper that it was actually harder than the game, those scenario runs before captain's run day.
Oh, yeah. The session I just spoke about was awful, and it was full noise. Like, it was basically, do you want to be selected on the weekend? It was no messing around. And I don't think it's something I don't think you can train at 50%. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you lose a contact, you need to know you've lost it. And, okay, well, now I'm on my back. How do I get out of it? And am I making enough effort? So it does require you to go full on. That's why it's normally like, righto, guys, gum shields in. This is 15 minutes. Ready to rock and roll.
It sounds brutal.
Yeah.
We actually get the piss taken out of us over here in Japan, because to your point, Jipper, when you see the unit sessions on a Tuesday or Thursday, you know they're live for 15, and you've got like the backs just running out face play shapes, a little bit of breakdown work, and even some kick tennis and the kind of warm up and the kind of looks that your Malcolm Marks and all those kind of boys are actually, yeah, there's a little bit of banter going on between the backs and the forwards, which I think it doesn't change in any team that you're in, to be honest. Forwards are like, geez, these guys are doing absolutely bloody nothing.
It's one up front.